In terms of the Manchester United interest in the past, obviously Bale was speaking to us there before Wales face Finland away tomorrow night live on Sky Sports. As Dahmer said, he has been linked with United over a number of previous windows. They've confirmed tonight their first signing. Donny van de Beek has completed his move from Ajax. We can now go live to James Cooper on that. James, we just heard Gareth Bale there say that he'd consider a return to the Premier League. United have tried to sign him. They've tried to bring him in before, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been big admirers of him in the past. Sir Alex Ferguson and various people have looked at him and thought, there's an option, there's someone we'd like to bring to Old Trafford. But I'm afraid, as far as Manchester United is going, that ship has very much sailed. And you think about what Manchester United are looking for now. I think the time of perhaps Old Trafford Galacticos has gone, and they are looking for a younger breed of players that they can develop and maybe sell on in the future. And that's why I think we're looking at the likes of Donny van de Beek at 23. They're trying to get Jadon Sancho in, and he's so young as well. I think the idea of getting a Gareth Bale in and the sort of money that it would cost them, I think, they've already had an Alexis Sanchez absolute disaster. They managed to get him off the books. They're not going to do a similar thing in Gareth Bale, which is a bit of a shame, because I think, for a season there might be an argument there of saying, look, he could come in and do that, perhaps if they couldn't get Jadon Sancho, but I just don't think it's a kind of furrow that they want to plough. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is his own man and wants to create his own side. And I think you bring in someone titanic like Gareth Bale, and maybe that threatens some of the dynamic of the squad when you've already got some big egos within that dressing room already.
James, in terms of Donny van de Beek, tell us the details of that deal.
Yeah, well, it's a 5+1, so it's 6 years, and that's kind of in keeping with where the Manchester United are trying to do their transfer business in terms of long term. It's 39 million euros plus 5 million euros of add-ons, and that equates to around about a 40 million pound deal, and they've done it quickly. They started a kind of murmurs at the weekend. We realised there was definite interest on Sunday. I thought we'd be talking about signing being sealed on Friday ahead of the game that the Dutch have against Poland on Friday night. They've gone earlier on that. It was smooth sailing all week. The medical went well, and now Donny van de Beek is a Manchester United player. And I just think it's interesting in what's been said this evening by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and by the player himself. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is talking about his appreciation of space. I think he's more legs in that midfield alongside someone like Bruno Fernandes. And Donny van de Beek on the other side of things is talking about what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer told him about the way Manchester United wants to go under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think he's done a great sell of Manchester United, and I think it's exciting for United fans to hear someone like Van der Beek say, well, look, the story I want to be part of is going to be an exciting story, because that implies there are other big names coming through the door this summer, and certainly that Manchester United's transfer business isn't done.
On that, what else do you think we can expect from United this window?
Yeah, I think they're looking for a couple of positions, and I think that we all know about Jadon Sancho. They would desperately like Jadon Sancho to come to Manchester United. And I think there's a feeling in the kind of corridors of power at Old Trafford that getting some sort of fee structure with Dortmund isn't the biggest obstacle to this deal. It's something that Manchester United could take care of. I've certainly spoken to people who are talking about the kind of wage demands that Jadon Sancho wants and the kind of agents' fees that they're talking about. And they're the sticking points at the moment on this deal. And I've got to say, we've got plenty of weeks left, and I think this one will run and run. And I think Manchester United are desperate to fill that kind of right-wing spot and kind of bolster their options. Yeah, they've got a front three that did brilliantly at the end of last season. You add Jadon Sancho to that, and that really does look explosive alongside those midfield options. As I say, I think, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will run a 2 from 3 in terms of Fernandes, Pogba and Van der Beek. And you think of them prompting a front three of Sancho, Greenwood, Rashford and of course Anthony Martial as well, and that starts to look promising. I think the other question mark, of course, is centre-back. I think they'd like to do business there. I'm told that Upamecano isn't on the list in terms of Manchester United's potential acquisitions this summer. I think they've looked at him at 21 years old, and yeah, he's got the right profile. He's just signed a 3-year deal. I think it's more likely that Manchester United will monitor his progress and perhaps go back in for him next summer. But of course the problem with that is that I think a lot more people will be anxious to sign up a Upamecano then than perhaps they are even now. I think it's more likely they'll try and sign a more established centre-back, but, and this is a really big but, I've spoken to somebody today who talked about the kind of Chris Smalling situation, and there may be a chance that Chris Smalling stays at Manchester United. I think it's a 50-50 job on this. Roma haven't come back to Manchester United of late with any sort of deal. They're trying to do business to get players out and get cash in, so that might still happen, but it's also perhaps possible that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has seen what he likes from Smalling in Roma and is saying to him, you've got a shot of perhaps putting the pressure on the likes of Maguire, Lindelof, Bailly, and who knows, Axel Tuanzebe if he can struggle with his injuries, and maybe not buying a centre-back gives them a little more to bolster elsewhere, and perhaps that money to do the Jadon Sancho deal. But I know there's also a lot of speculation about kind of more midfielders coming in, and at the moment I get the impression that Donny van de Beek is the midfield business done for Manchester United. They want that right wing spot and they want a centre-back, and that's pretty much it, unless, as I say, they find money elsewhere from not signing a centre-back and maybe bolster one of their full-back positions.
Fascinating stuff, James. Thanks so much indeed. Plenty of questions coming in following the Donny van de Beek signing. Just to recap what the government told us here on the Transfer Show on Monday, they said that as far as whether or not he would have to quarantine when coming back into the UK, it was their belief that so long as Van de Beek was a Manchester United player before any one of the two Netherlands internationals, he would be allowed to travel back into the UK without having to quarantine, without having to do that 14-day self-isolation that is required at the moment for anyone travelling from the Netherlands, because under the sporting exemption he's overplaying football. But we're still waiting for confirmation on that. But that's what the government said to us here on Monday. So the expectation is that is how it will play out. But as we've seen with COVID-19, anything seems possible at times. Some player, isn't he, Van de Beek? United done some business there.
Fantastic player. I mean, I've seen him a few times. I saw him score against Spurs when Ajax won at the Spurs stadium. I saw him in an incredible Ajax performance at Stamford Bridge when Ajax were leading 4-1. Van de Beek scored the fourth goal. Chelsea came back and drew that game 4-4. He was also instrumental in that incredible Ajax performance when they went to Real Madrid and won 4-1. He also played for Ajax when they went to Juventus and won 2-1 there as well. This is a guy who is made for the big occasions, and he is absolutely made to be a Manchester United player. I think he's going to be a fantastic success at Old Trafford, and there's been a lot written about him and how he's going to fit in at United. I'm not an expert on football tactics. I leave that to the ex-pros, but a lot of people have been saying that he's the kind of player who can play as a number 6 and number 8 and number 10. So it gives Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a lot of options, and it gives the ex-pros and experts a lot to talk about when they see him playing for Manchester United.
And Dom, just to pick up briefly there on what James said with regards to Jadon Sancho, I know you're very close to developments there. What did you make of that and this sticking point over the wages and the fees?
Well, it's interesting because I spoke to someone close to the Jadon Sancho deal today. I say deal in inverted commas. There's no deal there at the moment, of course. And for the first time in 2 weeks, they told me that there is a little bit of movement with regard to this deal in terms of Manchester United still want to sort out agents' fees, they want to sort out wages. That's before they go to Dortmund with an official offer and the structure of payments like James was alluding to there. And then the hope is, once the offer has gone in, Sancho will then let Dortmund know he does actually want to join Manchester United, and then the real negotiating between Dortmund and Manchester United can begin. But look, that's a long way off. As you know, there's still a long way to go in this transfer window.
One final point I would make on Donny van de Beek as well. Somebody called Mike Keegan, who writes for the Daily Mail, he's been on social media in the past hour, and he's made a great point about the power of Manchester United. He said that in the hour since Donny van de Beek has become a Manchester United player, on social media, on Twitter, he has gained 20,000 followers in 1 hour.
How many is he got now?
He's got 150,000, and I've
That's
been
still behind you and Brian, isn't it?
I've been looking at it, and I think if he carries on getting followers at this rate, he will have more followers than Brian Swanson by the time of tomorrow night's transfer show.
Wow.
He's still got a bit to go to get to near Fabrizio Romano, hasn't he? But yeah, that's good observation, Cavi.
That'll be about a week.